Hey you guys, sorry I haven't been able to get new content up in a few weeks. I've definitely intended on at least posting something weekly. My schedule's it's gotten so busy, and I have so many other things going on. However, tonight I did decide I'm just going to take all those other distractions and put them aside and put together a quick recap video just to show what I've been working on over the last couple of weeks. So here we go. To start off, I don't like some of the out of the box detail components. You know, if it's something like an angle or a steel beam section, yeah, that does the job for me. But the stuff that I want to use all the time, like the drywall, plywood, insulation, blocking, that stuff just isn't cutting it for me right out of the box. So I've modified some detail components. I've actually created new ones. Line-based families is what they are, basically. And some options I gave is the bold line for the exterior. So you know, in this situation here where I've got 2 layers of drywall, obviously I don't want this one to be bold, so I have the option for it not to be bold. You can also see that I have added an angle parameter to the beginning and end of each of these, so that you know, for mitering conditions. And then sometimes I don't want to see that end line, whatever it is, especially if it's at a corner. So I've got them set for visibility settings. Last but not least on these is if I were to change this to be 5/8 inch drywall, now my notes updated along with that as well. So which is really nice. I like being able to pick on that, and I could say select all interests in the whole project when the owner tells me get rid of all that 5/8 inch drywall. I don't want to see it anymore. I want 3/8 drywall. And see, now it all changes to 3/8. Looks like we gotta, that's fixable by locking it, I believe. Lock them 2 together. And now our owner's had a change of heart. He wants the extra durability, so he's going back to his 5/8. Boom. Alright. The wood blocking, I don't like that you can't adjust it. Like, not all, you know, all the nominal sizes are nice to have. However, in the real world, we need adjustable blocking. Those guys are going to use whatever size wood they need, and they're going to cut it down to whatever size it needs to be for what they're working on at the time. So again, all these have some intelligence to it. So the insulation, that might want to be, oh, I don't have the types in here. So there's some insulation, there's the plywood. I've also made some repeating detail components. So these are also line based with an array parameter in there. And the reason that I did this is because now the whole family can have a note attached to it if I want to. And then each piece could also have a note attached to it. You don't get that with the standard repeating detail components, the way that the project, or the way that Revit is set up. So also the repeating details, you know, when you customize them, they can be as complex as you want them to be. So here I have one that's got my whole wall system set up in it, and each of them components are adjustable. So I could have the family for the face, then there's the insulation, the backup material, and then you specify the overall wall thickness and the airspace. And then the pattern length is the vertical length. So this pattern is 8 inches, it's 1 course. And so the reason we don't see the 8-inch lines for the insulation is because, again, over here we have the option to not see the start and end lines. So again, another benefit to having that information. plus again the intelligent notes. Um, so if I came into this type and say I'm not going to use split face CMU anymore, I'm going to use fluted CMU, and it changes. And so did this one. So all my other ones change. This tag here is related to this whole assembly itself in the description. And again, say maybe I want this to be 8-inch, 2 courses of 8-inch block. So we'll go 8 by 8 grouted. And we're going to have to add 4 inches to the overall thickness then. Oop, didn't do that right. Needs to be 8. And there we go. And see our notes have even updated as well. So as far as detail components, that's kind of something that I've started, and then I keep these all in a detail component file. Project wise, I'm working on some water treatment plants, and the most interesting one is probably this one, because we're using design options, and it has been a really good exercise in strengthening the design option skills, and the team is actually doing quite well, considering some of them this is their first experience with design options. So we have an existing space here that's got some equipment in it that is going to be turned into a storage room in our base bid. Then new equipment's being installed down here in this new space. This space here is going to be a storage space, a temporary storage space, all under base bid. And then there's an alternate we're doing where this becomes a conference room, these become bathrooms, and this is a new entrance and vestibule to the conference room. So those are in our alternate option here. So that's where all this stuff is. And then I'll just actually show the doors here. Our doors actually go into get into the detail as far as the hardware, because you see this stuff in the VR world. So this could be panic bar. It's also on the push side. So even that'll update. But for now, we just push plates and kick plates. So that's it. So to break up the monotony of all that technical stuff, I've also been looking at the 3D world. We recently got a 3D printer in it, my work. So shout out to Bugard Horn Architects and Engineers. And then also digital 3D models, trying to get from Revit into some kind of like virtual reality platform. And I spun my wheels for a little bit of time there. I just didn't have time to focus and really soak up the material that was available to me. That's just part of what I've been doing the last couple weeks then, is making that time. So that's why I haven't been able to make these videos. So what I want to do here though is just buzz through real quick workflow from Revit to Unreal Engine. First thing was to have the model, and so this is another project. Now this is a public meeting room, just a simple one. What I have is the area isolated out that I want to work with a section box. This is helpful in keeping the prep times down, because you're going to go from here to an FBX format, which you're going to import into 3ds Max, and then you're going to do some processing in there, and then once that's complete, then you'll FBX it back out and put it into Unreal Engine, where you'll pick it up from there. The only tip I'm going to give you this time is, if you don't need it in the model right away, don't put it in right away. So for my original export, these chairs, I left them out. The lights up above, I left them out. These are things that I want to work with later individually, and pay attention to them. It's a whole lot easier if you import them as their own FBX files as well. So this, you would just do a file, export FBX, give it a location and a name, location and a name, and then save. I already have the file, so I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to leave this image up. Okay. And then we go into 3D Max. And you would go File, Import, point to your FBX file. I'm not going to go into all the settings. I'll wait for another video for that. And you would get your model. Now I've already deleted some face and stuff because you can see my graphics card here is not happy with me today. So what we want to do in here though is the first thing you want to come over here to this X and go to X view, base orientation. Now what you're looking for are the normals on all your faces to be aligned correctly. And you do that by picking the faces, and anything that's green is a backwards face. And you know, I'll be honest with you, the FBXs exported from Revit, in my experience, are pretty clean when it comes to this. I have maybe just a couple I've found where it was green. So we can see now, if we zoom in here, we've got some thinner faces. That's why it looked like they were green here, because we were seeing through. Same thing with these. So everything looks good here. So all my normals are good. Now if it wasn't, what you would see is, we want polygon, flip normal mode. Okay, so now I have this object selected. So I go here, see that one's not, but I go here and this one turns green. So that's what you don't want. If you see a green face, then you hit the editable mesh, go to polygon, find flip normal mode, and then click on it so that it turns whatever other color, something not green, and you're good. Then the next thing you gotta do is come to your UVW map, and you need to add an unwrap UVW modifier. So what we would do is we would go and unwrap UVW and open in, I want to make sure we're on the right channel. I've had mixed results with that too when it comes up, but yeah, see, we don't have our maps here, so I need to go back to channel 1 and make our changes. Open UV, grab all this, go to mapping, flatten mapping, set cut. Alright, now I go to channel 2 and choose move, and it'll put them on channel 2. So you would have to do that one by one for each of your elements, or you could select elements and run a script, which I found online, automatic flatten. Run that, tell it to use channel 2, add automatic flatten. And there we go. So that did it for us. So should be able to delete that one because it was actually had already done that before. So, but we should be able to check this out, and we can see there are no overlapping UV maps. So once you have all that taken care of, now you're ready to FBX back out. So one thing to keep in mind here is if everything stays in the same place, then you can export will select the whole scene automatically. It exports out to an FBX file. Again, you give it a name, a location, or you can export only the objects that you have selected. So you keep everything intact, and then you realize, oh, something's messed up, or you missed a normal maybe. You can select the object here. You go to export selected, and then bring that back, bring that into Unreal as its own element, and it should go into the same location as the other objects, so that you don't have to mess around with that. So we've exported our FBX out, and now we are going into Unreal. Okay, So here's my scene in Unreal Engine, and just yeah, so what I did is I came into my content folder and under geometry and in meshes, and then I created a folder for the Revit model, and then I've created a couple more folders, so the materials and the textures, which I organize after it comes in. But really, you know, I originally started out with a gray space here, just import, point to the FBX model, and this all populates. So these are color coded, so it's these teal ones are objects. It looks a little daunting because everything is separate like this. It breaks out all the components, although the more you work with it, the more intuitive it becomes. We have our different views. I can go to top, so we're in the top view now. I can go to my front view, so we'll go to the perspective so you can see the view here. And so this is the model. Now I've already applied materials and I've adjusted them and chosen different materials. Again, the idea is for the user to be able to select materials, so I don't necessarily want to start out with the same materials that I want, you know, that I want to have in the end, because, you know, I want it to be something that somebody's going to change. So I've also added some more detail that's not in the model, so that wall base is not actually in the Revit model yet. Windowsills is not in the Revit model yet. I changed the color of the chair. This is not the same carpet from the model. So we can go, if I hit the play button, this is going to let me simulate it once it cooks here in a minute. The other nice thing that I really like about Unreal, this is one of the reasons it's my favorite, is when I go here, so you can kind of barely see it with this model. But here it's like a really bright scene. But if I whip over here, you can see how the brightness adjusts itself. So I can walk around the scene. I'm using my keyboard and my mouse to point or to look where I want to go. Here's some. Again, this was one of the situations. This is what I was telling you about. I didn't realize that my CMU backup here was the only thing that came in. The furring and drywall didn't come in the model here. So when I was putting the base in, I'm using the same scale factor as all the other objects, and I'm torn because I don't understand why it's not sizing correctly. And then I realized it was because the drywall didn't come through. By not changing the location of anything in my model, all I had to do is go back to that FBX file, pick on it, export it, and then literally just dragged it into here, applied the scale factor, and it went right where it was supposed to go. This is more of a proof of concept model anyway, so, and what it's going to prove is that we can walk up, back up a little bit here because I want to be able to see. I'm getting a little too close. So once I get to the counter, now I have options down here, and I can change those materials. I have the material that I like. Just back away. See what it looks like. So that would be for the user. Now if it was me and I wanted to add materials or change materials, I can do it right here in this view. I go into my materials folder, and I did have a beechwood here. I just dropped that material on that floor. Now I've got a wooden floor. Again, there are some scale issues, but I'll address them in another video. So this is the same carpet, but this is the carpet that's being attached to this floor. That's, for some reason, the UV map's got one scale, and the counter and the carpet for this countertop are another scale. That's VR. So from there, to here. I'm walking around experiencing it. That's what's been keeping me busy. Maybe it's a little teaser. I think there's a bunch of topics in this video here. I'll expand on some of these as I am able to in the future. Until then, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, click the like and subscribe buttons below. If you want notifications when new content is uploaded, click on the bell. Any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. And thanks again, everyone.